Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. At Scout, we're doing things differently with our focus on legendary service and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other on to do higher quality work while keeping the clients at the center. Come see how it feels to work with a small group of committed brokers with the shared goal of upping their game. For more info, please contact Jennifer Nelson, founder and owner of Scout, 206-227-7966, or jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. Hey folks, Jennifer Nelson here with Pocket Hours. I am thrilled for you to listen to this interview with the one and only Mitzi Verlinde of Cross Country Mortgage. I have worked with Mitzi for over 19 years. She is tried and true, folks. She is a big heart and a hard worker and gives my clients extraordinary service. Can't wait for you to hear some of her tips and tricks. I think you'll enjoy this interview. Mitzi Verlinde, I am so excited to have you on Pocket Hours. Thank you so much for being here. What a gift this is to have my favorite lender of all time on the show. Yay!
Thank you.
Welcome to Pocket Hours. So Mitzi, Pocket Hours, as you know, is designed to have Washington State realtors listen in and be able to learn something about lending, about real estate, about life, about everything. So we're excited to have you interviewed with me today and hear from you and learn more about you. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jennifer.
Oh, you're welcome. So we usually start off, Mitzi, with a little bit of background from you about where you've come from, what drew you to lending eventually. So give us a little story about how you got here.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, I'm, 37 years old, so I only have one or two or three careers.
Nice.
Yeah. No, so I was born and raised here in Seattle, undergraduate degree, University of Washington, and then I was really blessed and fortunate to have my company sponsor me at USC down in California for graduate school, and also they paid for my tuition, and I got a fellowship from them and a scholarship. So that was pretty cool. Free school, so that was good.
Nice.
And then from there, I worked in the Bay Area, the San Francisco division, Sacramento division, and the Los Angeles divisions for Safeway. And one of the guys I went to school with at USC, of course, that's why you go to business school, is to make all your connections. He worked at a company called HEB down in Texas. So I ended up getting recruited down there to San Antonio. They had just moved their headquarters, and it was what a great move. That company was awesome. They took such good care of their employees. It was just a dream come true, heaven
Nice.
on earth if you're going to work for a corporation. They were vertically integrated. They owned everything from the soil to the banks to the construction. It was awesome. It was a family company, privately held. And when I left them, I believe they were running maybe $2.5–3 billion. They had 17,000 employees. And within 6 or 7 years, they were upwards of, $50 billion and up to 90,000 employees. It was just incredible. And they were blessed beyond belief because they took such good care of their people.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I left there when I turned 30, actually the day I turned 30, and moved up to Washington State, back to Washington, and helped my dad run an agricultural company, a farming company. And it was my last name, Knockemer Sales Company. I was the president of that company for about 10 years, helped my dad with that. And then we sold that company to the dealer Wilbur Ellis. At that point, it was enough for my parents to retire on, but not really enough for me. And I was 39. So I thought, well, what do I do? So I did a lot of volunteer work and ended up doing like autoclaving for Pan Labs, which my friends who are scientists are saying, you're autoclaving for somebody you don't even know. You could have done that for us. And we could have taught you to be a molecular geneticist. I go, well, not so much. So I did a lot of different things. I worked at the Seattle Times and advertised. I mean, you guys, I did so much fun stuff. I mean, Jennifer, it was so much fun. And I ended up doing mortgages. That was like 25 years ago. It was just an incredible journey. And I really feel that God's really taking care of me every step of the way. And I wasn't too far into my career when I met you. And I was introduced by Susie. And anybody who's listening on this, Jennifer has been such a blessing to me. She's always trying to pull me into the new millennium. She's Miss. You got to get an iPhone. You got to get an iPad. You got to get, and back then I'm like, what? No way. She goes, Mitz, that's the future of the industry. So, all the years that we've known each other, Jennifer, 19 years we've been working together, you're
Wow.
always pulling me along, and I'm so grateful to you. I'm not kidding. And we do so much great business together. And
Dude.
the people on this call, all of you realtors, I know you really want to take care of your clients. Jennifer has taken care of all of her clients, all the people I send her. She does above and beyond. And that's the reason why her clients continue to send her referrals, just like all of you out there that are listening. I know that's what you strive for. So, Jen, you're a great example. So thank you for that.
Well, Mitzi, I got to cut you off because I just want to say to all the listeners, now you know why I had Mitzi on the call. See, this is my paid advertisement, and Mitzi's one of my biggest fans, and I'm one of her biggest fans. So we have been in tight partnership for the last 19 years, and I count a blessing to know her personally, call her my friend, but also we do a lot of business together. So thank you, Mitz, and you're always very flattering to me. I appreciate that. But I want to go back for a minute to your dad. I know that your dad is someone that you respected a great deal, and his work ethic and how he handled people or had relationships with people. Talk to me a little bit about how your dad influences your business now.
He's like my biggest hero. He's in heaven now. So my biggest hero now on earth is, of course, my husband. But my dad taught me so much about taking care of his clients. And, I went to business school, which is great. You learn how to climb the corporate ladder. And, we were all striving to be, CEO, COO, that kind of thing. And it taught you a lot about navigating through large corporations. Safeway, 110,000 employees, and it was just a funny thing because there was such a contrast when I started working for my dad and helping him run his company. I mean, you guys, it was like going back 100 years. One day I asked him, I said, well, and we're talking the EPA, we're talking the government, we're talking all of these Class B poisons that we were dealing with because of all the pesticides in farming. It was an agriculture company, so we dealt with farmers in Western Washington and Western Oregon. And my dad basically said, well, honey, didn't you, usually give them a handshake? I go, yeah, that's not going to fly with the government, And my dad just looks at me and goes, boy, you've spent way too much time in corporate America. I go, Dad, I learned a lot. He goes, well, you're going to learn something else here. And I'm telling you, Jennifer, it was the most incredible, eye-opening experience. I didn't know that those many, many years ago when I was working with my dad, that everything he taught me, I'm applying to my business now, because I'm 100% commission, just like all of you realtors are. And we need to take really good care of our clients. My dad worked 24/7, which is awesome because I work 24/7 in retail. And so it was just kind of dovetailing in. And then when I started in this business 25 years ago, people looked at me and said, how come you're working nights and weekends? I go, dude, that's when our clients need us.
Exactly.
I mean, and it's just really something from my food retail background and also working with my dad. If the farmer needed you at midnight to take a look at some insects or some kind of mildew coming in at 4:00 in the morning or whenever it was, you're out there in the middle of the field. And there were no such things as weekends and holidays. And I mean, whenever the farmer needed you, that's when you were there. So it was just a really good, it was good training for me because we dealt with toxic chemicals and also lots of vegetable seeds with fungi coating and just all kinds of things, small farm implements, things that you can get hurt with. We would have our customers sometimes would have to sign. And I remember one of my customers put an X on the page. And I said, hey, Jojo, I need your signature. What are you doing? He goes, that is my signature. And so I was just like needling him, right? Finally, my dad's like, so after Jojo leaves, he goes, Mitz, he doesn't know how to write. And he barely knows how to read. He's from Italy, because we eat a lot of Italian and Japanese farmers in the valley. And he goes, so, oh my gosh, he goes, I heard you giving him a hard time. I said, well, I was just joking with him. But boy, I learned a lot from my Japanese and my Italian farmers. They said, Mitzi, if you don't like one of us, don't ever badmouth us because we're all related. And I
That's
said,
right. Word gets around.
Yeah, you won't have to worry about that. I says, when we were little kids, my mom told us, if you have nothing good to say about anyone, you zip it.
Yeah, come sit by me. No, just kidding.
Yeah. No, really.
You'll end up in a trunk of a car somewhere with those Italians.
Hello. So it It was a really good training with my dad and also all of the farmers that we had. My dad serviced them for over 50 years. And because today, in fact, I was just at a funeral last week for one of our farmers. And Mike Carpenito, he's got Carpenito Farms down there in Kent. He and I are now, after my dad passed away, we're funeral buddies. So he always lets me know when there's a farmer that has passed, and I'm representing my dad and our family. So yeah,
that's cool.
So
that's
it's been really great. So the farmers I'm still really, really good friends with and close to,
One time I called Mitzi, this is years ago, and I said, I can't remember who it was, but I was talking about somebody getting a new 9-to-5 job. And I remember your response. It made me laugh, and it still does. You said, oh, so they're working part-time. 9-to-5 is part-time for Mitzi, that's for sure. And I don't know, listeners, if you're picking this up, but one of the things that I know that Mitzi got from her father and also is very much evident in her work is that she cares about the people. So the work that she does is sort of ancillary, right? Like she's going to do lending. She's going to do that really well, be great at it. But the people are what she cares about. And that comes out in her work. So she shows up above and beyond, helping clients to not just get a loan, but to feel important and to be put first and prioritized. And that's unique. It's not just a numbers game for you, Mitzi. It's I care about people, and that shows up in your work. So I love that about you.
Thank you. I learned that from all the people that I surround myself with, Jen. I look for people that are way smarter than me and teach me every single day. And we were taught early on, and also in business school, you can't know everything. You only have a certain amount of bandwidth. Mm-hmm. So you get to know the experts in their field. You get to know the people that are the ones making the decisions, mm-hmm. the trigger pullers, and that way you can get things done quickly, efficiently, and you're not going through anybody giving them their opinion. It's basically the person that makes the decision. And so I think that's really helped me. Yeah. And, Jen, I count you as one of those people. I mean, you're a trailblazer in so many ways. And I'm just, I just feel so grateful. I was in junior high school, and I was surrounded with these really smart girls, all 4-point students. And, it was Italian, Jewish, German, and then me, the Japanese. And I was the one lagging. I was like at 3.8. I had 1B, and they're like, Nakamura, what's wrong with you? And I says, hey. And they said, what are you doing homework for? I mean, we do our homework during the day. What are you doing during the day? I says, that's the time we get to see everybody and we get to talk to people.
That's the people part, yeah.
Yeah, and I could do homework at home, and they're just shaking their head. And so, I went to Rainier Beach. Yeah, I went to Rainier Beach, which was a tough school back then.
Yeah.
And they really pushed me into going to Kennedy for a semester. And, because they wanted to make sure I was college material or college prepared. Yeah. And so, and again, from a young age, and I, still hang out with those girls to this day. I appreciate you, Jennifer, recognizing that people really, really mean a lot to me. You're helping one of the young couples. She's the daughter of a dear, dear friend of mine who I haven't seen in probably 6 or 7 years. I've known this couple since 1991, 1992, and we saw each other, we hugged each other so long, we both started crying, and her daughter's like, oh my gosh, and it was just amazing. But after that day, I was so full. This was last Saturday. I was so full of joy, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's why I'm in this business, for those feelings. It's really a selfish feeling, because I really do get a lot of joy out of, and I like to say playing, but, working with people. But It's really, when you're having fun, you're playing. And this should be a fun process for our clients.
No doubt. Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you. This is a joke I regularly tell people. I will meet someone unrelated to Mitzi, right? So a client of mine will say, hey, we've got these people that want to sell their house. So I'll go over, talk to them about selling their house. And for some reason, Mitzi will come up. I don't know how, she just does. And then they'll say, Mitzi who? And I'll say, well, Mitzi Verlinde. And they're like, is there any chance her last name used to be Nakamura? And I was like, yeah, it is. And they're like, oh, well, our father knows her father. And it's amazing. She's like Kevin Bacon. It's 6 degrees of separation from Mitzi Verlinde. I mean, it's intense. Like, she knows a lot of people. And that's because you touch a lot of lives. So I'm grateful for that. Hey, Mitz, talk to me a little bit about when you think you turned the corner in production. So you were sort of at a level where you were obviously making a good amount of money. This is your, full-time career. You were doing fine. But then there was a moment that you turned a corner and you're now a very high producing lender. When was that and why do you think that was?
I hired a coach early on, but my business changed when I hired an assistant, and she was pretty young, right out of high school, just a go-getter. I mean, this gal could do everything. She was graphics designer, marketing guru, very organized, and she happened to end up being my sister-in-law. So she still works with me and for me. She lives in Calgary now, but when I hired an assistant, my gosh, my income tripled. And when she moved away, I didn't replace her and my income shrunk right back down to where it was before. And then I hired a coach and he asked me the same question. And he goes, Mitz, what are you doing? You got to get an assistant. You can't do everything. So that's when I turned the corner. And honestly, 17 years ago when Coulomb and Everett hired me, that's Brad Everett and Rodney Coulomb. What an incredible team of guys. And they sold to Cobalt sold to Caliber. And then we all went together to RPM. It's because they created this cocoon. And I mean, Jennifer, I'm living heaven on earth. I have any challenges at all up and down the pipeline as far as underwriters, funders, whatever. I go straight to Brad or Rodney and I said, okay, let's get the cell phone numbers and the home phone numbers of these people. And they smile. They go, oh, they told me they already gave it to you. So, Jen, my goal in life is there's about 30 people that touch the files. My goal is to learn who each one of those 30 people are, either take them to lunch, dinner, happy hour, breakfast, whatever, get to know them so that they know that my people, my clients, not that I want them to be first all the time in line, but, my clients are really important to me. They get the gist of it. So whenever they see my name on a file, they're like, and by the way, it's not me. I've got a really good team of people around me. I've got 5 other people that are always with me, helping me out, my assistant, my transaction coordinator. And so they're really good. So when an underwriter or funder sees my file right away, they go, oh, this one will go easy. It'll sail right through. Good. Or if they see there might be a challenge, they'll call me because they know if they don't call me, I'll call them. Yeah. And
Exactly.
Jen, this is what a lot of folks don't understand is you guys as realtors, what the personal touch is. But I have been really blessed. My underwriters, the ones that know me, they kind of break in the new underwriters. And if a new underwriter wants to condition me for something on a client, they'll see the file. They'll go, oh, that's Mitzi Verlinde. You know what? Call her. Don't write up the condition. Give her a call because 9 times out of 10, Mitzi knows her clients. And I'm not kidding. The 3 or 4 or 5 times that's happened, I remember this one time the underwriter called me and said, hey, this guy is a school teacher. He gets paid 5 different ways to,
Sunday.
to Sunday. And they go, we've got like 5, 6, 7 different conditions, but I have an underwriter sitting with me right now. She's a senior underwriter and she wants me to just ask you this one question. How well do you know that client? And I'm going, oh, this client? Shoot, I was engaged to him 37 years ago or whatever it was, right? At
Pretty
that time.
well.
And they go, 37. Oh, so you're older than 35. I go, yeah. And I says, I know his parents. I know his siblings. I know everybody.
Yeah.
And then right away I say, so what are you going to condition me for? She goes, oh, that was the only question I had. I'm crossing everything else out. So I've been really fortunate because my underwriters call me and they want to know how well I know the people. A lot of the loan officers, sometimes they get their leads from Zillow or internet or, somewhere where they don't even know who they're talking to.
Yeah.
My clients are 99.9% are referrals. And I have a built-in trust because they are referrals. So I've been lucky. I've known people for a long time. They send their kids to me. So I've known these people 25, 30, 40 years, whatever it happens to be. And it goes a long ways with the underwriters. So I think I've been really blessed by that.
And I think, you've built up a reputation that you don't just do clients lending stuff on the side, or you don't just get a name and process it all behind a computer and have it go through. If you do work with Mitzi, both from a real estate perspective as a realtor and or you're a client of hers, trust me, you're going to know her, because she's going to be in your face getting all the stuff she needs to get from you.
Oh, yeah.
She'll probably ask you to lunch or to a walk or to a dinner. She'll come by and see your house. She'll be at your closing signing. This isn't a hands-off kind of lender. This is you're going to know Mitzi Verlinde by the end of it. Speaking of, Mitzi, sometimes you refer to yourself as Auntie Mitzi. And I want to be really clear, because I've known her a long time, that is both an endearing, like give yourself a big hug. If you meet Mitzi, she's going to hug you, by the way, FYI, just forewarning, probably kiss you too. But Auntie Mitzi is both that sort of big hug and supportive, and Auntie Mitzi is also the one you want in your corner when there's an issue, because this is a corporate background, don't want to meet her in a dark alley, Auntie Mitzi, as well, that shows up for you when you need it. So again, realtors that are listening in, don't be deceived that the person you are listening to or watching on the YouTube channel is some church lady that doesn't have a backbone and can't stand up where she needs to stand up. Because certainly in my past dealings with you, Mitzi, when I've needed you to be there for me, you've been there for me. And I think loyalty is one of your biggest values, and you are an incredibly loyal person and will go to bat for anybody that you believe in and trust in. So I love that attribute about you. Thank you. Mitzi, tell us a little bit about some of the struggle. So we talk a little bit about what you're great at, and we've done that a little bit, but for our listeners' point of view, I want to know what's hard for you about lending. So get a little vulnerable with us and tell us, what are some of the challenges you face in the lending world?
I think that because of my high school and because I've, been in a lot of physical fights, which I was pretty aggressive. I was in sports, and I'm short, but I'm pretty hefty. So I'm pretty, I pack a punch. And because I'm Asian, because I'm Japanese, a lot of people back then thought that I knew martial arts. So I know that sounds crazy,
Wow.
So that's helped me a lot in the fighting that I've been in, because a lot of times I'll strike first before, if they hit me and I get in there. And, I just have kind of that's terrible, huh? I sound like a fighter, but I kind of am. I've been jumped 5 times, you guys, in about 7 years when I was between 16 and 23. So I just, my first reaction is to protect the people around me. But if somebody's going to come after me, I'll take that person down. And so, the struggles that I had, I think when I first got into this industry, when I see somebody that isn't being treated right, I walked into an escrow office. And by the way, you guys, I was brand new. I was 6 months in the business. And again, my background, because I'm kind of a fighter, I saw this gal crying and I go, "Hey, what's up?" She goes, "Oh my gosh." She goes, "Are you the realtor or the loan officer?" I said, "Oh, I'm the loan officer." She goes, and then her face just went blank. I go, "What's wrong? What happened?" And then, she told me the story about how this loan officer was just giving her grief and screaming at her. I was so incensed. I looked at her and I said, "Hey, I've only been doing this 6 months, but if that loan officer is pointing fingers at you, chances are it was his or her fault. I want that guy's name, his number. I will find out where he lives, and I'll have a little talk with him so that he can come over here and apologize to you." She looked at me and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I am not going to give you this guy's name because I think he'll do that." I said, people shouldn't treat people like that. And so for me, when I found out how some of the folks in this industry treat each other, and by the way, every industry, we're full of, are full of that, especially in corporate America. But here I was thinking I was walking away from that, those industries, and it's just, business is business. It doesn't have to be that way. So I think my struggles were just seeing the way people treated each other. And so I want to create an environment that's conducive, and at least in our offices that I work in, the branches that I work in, that people are happy there. And, we're playing and we're playful with each other because guess what? We spent a lot of time working. My parents were interned in internment camp. I'm Japanese. My husband's mother's from Costa Rica. It's just, it's like Eric says, trabajo, trabajo, trabajo. We work, work, work. And it's because that's kind of the way we were raised. But my struggles initially were just seeing how people treated each other. And the struggles in this industry coming from corporate, you get a paycheck, right? Every month at corporate. Well, in this industry, we're 100% commission. And luckily, I had a 10-year gap there between corporate, working with my dad, and then coming into this industry because being self-employed, oh my gosh. I mean, I told my father, oh my gosh, Dad, it's like every 3 years we have a great year and the other 2 years. And he goes, yeah, Mitzi, this is farming,
Same, yeah.
And thank the Lord, I worked with my dad in self-employment because we're self-employed and we're 100% commission. And I think for me, because I had that 10 years of, okay, I get it. Every 3 years is a good year. I think that really helped me. But when I have young people asking me, I heard this guy was in the business for 35 years. He's making all this money. I'm like, did you just graduate from college? Did you not have a job in college?
Yeah.
And so, I tell them to have 6 months at least in the bank of your burn rate every month so that if you don't close a loan, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And so I think it wasn't so bad for me as far as if I had come straight from corporate into this.
Sure.
So my dad my dad buffered me a little bit like that.
Grease the wheels, got you ready.
Grease the wheels, yeah. And so, and when you talk about struggles, I just had to get out of my own way. I mean, I had my coach tell me,
Don't we
Mitzi,
all?
I know. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He says, Mitzi, just get out of your own way. Go to the people that know you and trust you from your past lives, your business lives. And that's where you start. And I'm thinking, oh. And he goes, like your Christmas card, or if you're married. I go, I wasn't married. I says, no, never plan on getting married. He goes, your wedding list, but your Christmas card list, people you write to. And I was a really good pen pal. So my Christmas card list back then was maybe 120. 140, something like that. So I would just let people know I was in a different industry. And that kind of really helped me. But, I had to hire a coach. It's like, there's something right in front of me. Yeah. That's why Jennifer, that's why I surround myself with people smarter than me. They tell me the obvious,
I think for just to recap a little bit, Mitzi's talking about two important things that she can attribute where she's at production wise, right? And that's to say she hired a coach to be able to ask her the right questions, to be able to help her get out of her own way. And then you hired an assistant. And those two things have come up sort of repeatedly as I've been interviewing producers, both that they seek out help from others that are interested in knowing more about what they're doing. And a coach doesn't even have to be a real estate coach. It can be a coach that helps people, corporate coaches even, that help ask the right questions. And then the assistant is to say, you can't do it all. And so when you try to do it all, which I think all, especially realtors and lenders, are accustomed to say, we got this, right? We're entrepreneurs. We're just going to take it all on. At the end of the day, that's actually your Achilles heel, right? Is that that ego that makes you think you can do it all instead of getting help. Mitzi, tell us a little bit. We're going to switch gears to where you think the market's going to go in the next 12 months. Talk to us from a lending perspective in your crystal ball as you rub it on the top.
I was just going to go grab that. Hang on for a minute.
Yeah, hang on. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Let me go grab that.
Yeah. So I know there's indicators that you watch, and I know that your office is really good at getting you up to speed on some of that and some of the forecasters you pay attention to. But what do you think? What's going to happen?
It's funny because I had my crystal ball out earlier for today's talk and I put it away. But what I do, again, because there are so many experts out there, but the ones that I listen to, I actually hire 3 services that give me a giddy up on the market every day and oftentimes 3 and 4 times a day. For me, I want to keep an eye out for my clients to make sure I can lock them in if the rates are starting to go up, or if the rates are coming down, I want to wait. So what we're seeing right now, as everybody knows, if you read a newspaper or listen to the news, the feds are planning for the next 4 or 5 meetings. They meet 8 times a year, sometimes more often if they need to. And they're looking at increasing the overnight funds that they charge each other by up to a half a point. Usually there's only a quarter point hit, increase, but they need to tame inflation. And so their tools are, one of them is raising the rates, overnight rate to each other, so that it simmers down the inflation, and also, selling off we call it a quantitative easing, or basically getting rid of decreasing their sheet, everything they purchased,
Okay.
So those are the two tools that, usually they use one or the other, but, the Feds right now, after the May meeting, they're going to try to experiment and use both, which could explode in their face, but that's okay. We're going to get the fallout, but, and I don't want to be a doomsayer, but, what comes good and bad, it just fluctuates back and forth. But the market, as far as what I'm interested is the rates, how it's impacted, they're going to continue to increase. The bright spot, though, is they increase, but we're going to be going into a recession. Hate to use our word, probably within the next maybe 15 to 20 months. And usually when in a recession, the interest rates come down. So a lot of people will be refinancing out of the 4.5% to 5.5% rates that they're in right now. The crystal ball for 12 months, all I have to say to your clients is they better get into a house now. The stats that I just read, 2 days ago, Seattle for this last month, it was a March reading because it's the Case-Shiller appreciation, 5.4% in March. Now, that doesn't take into account a lot of the increases in the rates, but, do the math on that. People that are afraid that, the appreciation is not going to continue. I lived in the Bay Area in the 80s, in San Francisco, actually, and everybody was worried, oh my gosh, Silicon Valley, we're in double digits appreciation. What's going to happen? Well, you see how that is fared 30, 40 years later. And Seattle has got a finite amount of, I always like to say this, it's like San Francisco. We only have a certain amount of, our geography of waterfront property, right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing the same thing happen here as far as the increase in appreciation. People that are worried about, is this appreciation going to last? Well, if you take a look at the builders, they're about 11 and a half, 12 years behind, right, in inventory. Our inventory is so tight right now, it's going to take the builders over a decade to catch up. And in the meantime, you get all the millennials. You've got all of these young people in the 25 to 35 year range. They're all wanting to buy houses. So we're going to continue to have an increased demand. And what does that mean? Well, less inventory, increased demand, the appreciation is going to continue. So what I see for the next 12 months is I need to be with your buyers so that they can get themselves into a house right now, not waiting a year, because they're going to miss that appreciation. So I just want you to know that my first job for you guys as realtors is to make sure I protect you, meaning I make sure they don't go to another realtor to begin with. I protect your relationship with them. But more importantly, we're like, auntie and uncle. We're double teaming so that we can educate your clients so that they understand. Don't talk to your neighbor who knows what they do, but just because something bad happened to them, it's not going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And so we just have to be there to make sure we give them the right facts and the data, so that we can make sure that they do get into a house. And 3 years from now, they'll say, oh my gosh, Jennifer, you've given me 20% appreciation this last 2.5 years. Oh my gosh, we've got all this money and equity in our house now. We're going to keep that house, take some of that equity out and buy another house. I mean, thanks to you.
Yeah.
So you as realtors, the next 5 years, you're going to have your clients gushing and just sending you so many more clients because they loved how you got them into a house now and not waited a year.
That's great. For any of you that are a little bit like me, at the beginning of what Mitzi just talked about, she was talking about this and that and the other and the feds and whatever. I blacked out a little bit on that part because that's all lender speak. But what she rounded it out to say at the end was that despite the rising interest rates, Mitzi, you can help me with this. Despite the rising interest rates, it is better for your clients, your buyers, to go ahead and get in the game now and refinance later as opposed to waiting, because they're like, hey, we're going to wait until the rates come down again. But in the midst of them waiting, they're missing out on these double-digit appreciations a year. Is that, am I summing that up right? Yeah.
You hit it right on target there.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Very good. Yeah. So, interestingly enough, that's an interesting message because people say, well, it's going to be 7% by the end of the year. And you say, yeah, that's possible. And also when we're hitting double digit numbers, that interest rate's going to be a blip on the screen 5 years from now when you purchased, right? And got to take advantage of that. So that's great. That's great info. So Mitzi, before we end the call, I just want to say, is there anything else you want to share with the listeners? Thank you so much, first of all, for doing this. Appreciate it.
I think, all I really want to say is, gosh, Jennifer, you've always been ahead of the game here. You've always been an incredible educator, and you're so generous with your time and providing this podcast so that people can actually get clock hours and all the clock hours and the classes that are coming up with Scout. All of the realtors that are listening to this, take advantage of all of the expertise that Jennifer has, and her strong suit is in the training and educating. And she's a huge producer because her clients love her. And I'm just trying to catch up with a girl. That's
Nice.
and I just thank you for letting me come on today and for letting me have an incredible friendship with you. And it's fun. We get to work together too, but you're raising a beautiful girl and
Thank you.
she's our next generation. So thank you for doing the hard work, Jen. I mean, Eric and I don't have kids. And let me tell you, just us getting dressed and getting out of the house. Those of you that have children out there, oh my gosh, I kiss the ground you walk on because you guys are doing all the hard work and the heavy lifting. So I thank you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Good. And for listeners, this is Mitzi Verlinde again. She works with Cross Country Mortgage, and you'll be able to reach her. I'll get all the stuff on the intro so you can get in touch with her. Thanks, Mitzi. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me. See ya.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening in to Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.